Hello, divine creations, divine marvels, children of God. Thanks so much for dropping by. And a very warm welcome to Christina and Claudie. And let's see. And I'm magnifying it so I can read the name. Melanie. Guten Tag, Melanie. She said good evening from good evening from Germany. Thanks everyone for joining in. So, well, my heart is just full of joy and gratitude right now, just to gather together with all of you. And oh wow, thanks for inviting her, Claudie. Yeah, so I'm just very delighted to be joining in with you via the computer, but also energetically. Because although we may be thousands of kilometers away from each other, all of us here have the same intention to receive the good. We've all had the very good fortune to hear about Bruno Groening, who taught us such simple ways to how to navigate life, really. So, first and foremost, let's hand over. Let's hand over worries, burdens, illnesses to our dear friend Bruno. If not Bruno, another helper you trust. If you don't have a particular spiritual helper, then just hand them over to God, to life itself, to the universe. Handing over the worries of the day, any particular physical illnesses we've been thinking about, let's hand them over. And then please sit with your legs uncrossed, feet flat on the floor, hands on your legs, hands on your legs, palms facing upwards. Sit with a straight back, not a rigid back, but not a collapsed back. If possible, not leaning against your chair, but just gently upright. Welcome, Arkantor. And then close your eyes. And if you have a particular prayer, you can say that, or just open yourself to the wish, the desire to receive healing life energy. Personally, inwardly, I always try and start off by just, Bruno, please, good reception. Please help me to take in all the good God has in store for me. And then begin to observe your body, noticing the sensations while having the will, the intention to receive healing life energy. We'll spend a few minutes in silence doing that now. Observing the body, intending to take in good energy. handing over any worries or fears about the future and trusting ourselves to God and to our spiritual helper. Really observing the body. Really taking in this good energy. Oh, welcome, everyone. Welcome, Germana. Welcome, Forever Loving Everything. Wow, we've got people from all around the world. Faith Energy Party. I'm very delighted to see so many people here. And just these gatherings are so meaningful to me. So thank you, everyone, for dropping by. So, before the gathering got started, I got an interesting question from Christina. Could you say something about how to tune in difficult situations, like after an accident or at an accident and emergency department? I would be happy to share. I do my best to respond. And so, the first thing that comes to me, my kitty is meowing. I don't know. Are you joining in, Miss Princess? So, the first thing I'd like to share is an experience I had very early on in learning this practice. I had a friend who he's mostly mute, meaning he's not able to speak. He's able to make noises, and his wife understands him, but most other people don't. And he was in the hospital. So he had a complication, a deep sickness, and was really sick. So me and another friend were going to go and just tune in for him. My cat is really wanting to participate. And when we got to the hospital, it ended up he had had a night of hell. So he couldn't really communicate. And so all night long, they kept giving him sleeping pills, but he kept trying to tell them, no, I don't want one. But they misunderstood. And so they kept giving him. So if you can imagine what it would be like to not be able to communicate, to be in a hospital, he's mostly paralyzed. He's not able to communicate. And in essence, people are forcing sleeping pills on him. And he's saying no. He was highly traumatized, and I'd say understandably so. And so he started to tell me and my friend, or write it out. And we were like, okay, we hear you, and now we're going to tune in. And the whole family was frantic. It was mom and two kids, and they were just, everyone was kind of traumatized. And so me and my friend, we just sat down and we just sat next to his bed and we started tuning in. And the kids moved away from us. And then the mom kind of moved away from us, and the room got very quiet. And then the family left. And we tuned in and we prayed for him for maybe 15 or 20 minutes. And he came to a place of peace in a very, very short time. Now he had done a little tuning in before, so it wasn't brand new to him. But if you think about it, it was definitely a miracle. It was, first of all, amazing to just watch. It was almost like the good energy me and my friend were bringing in kind of was repelling the family. Like it was kind of like they just got pushed out of the room, and it was really meaningful to you know basically right after a very traumatic event to be able to just bring help someone come into a complete place of absolute calm. And if we hadn't, or if he hadn't found another way to calm himself, then that trauma probably would have lodged in him and might still be in him to this day. So that's um, my first personal experience with how to deal with. We just ignored the other people were frantic, and we didn't even try and calm them down. We just sat down and we brought in the calm. Now, the thing is, Bruno Groening, when describing Einstein, he said to welcome the peaceful quiet. And he said it's very important to be in a calm place. If you're not in a calm place, it blocks the divine energy. Um, so those are a few of my thoughts, and let's just sit with that for a moment. That we can, all of us can. Um, all of us can be instruments of God's peace. And we can all have a real impact on this world, even if it's a little impact. And also, this idea of welcoming the peaceful quiet. It's a very interesting phrase that Bruno Groening said when describing Einstein tuning in. So, first of all, let's welcome the peaceful quiet, and let's really take to heart that Bruno said that just as I am a big sender, you are a little sender. Meaning, just as Bruno was able to, we're able to do it. Maybe not to the extent yet, but we all are senders of divine energy. So let's spend a little time welcoming the peaceful quiet. Taking in the good energy. So something I've started doing is if I'm walking down the street and I hear people arguing, even much less something more intense, I just say a prayer and I step into the reminder nothing is impossible, meaning that can shift in an instant. So part of how I am learning how to show up in a crisis situation is to realize it's not a crisis. For me to stay in a calm place and to whatever extent I can to extend that, to share that. So those are some of my actually one see the thing is here's a quote from Bruno. I'm just going to read. Mhm. Man is not free. This is from Wisdom of Life, Volume 1, page 72. Man is not free. He cannot do anything freely. He may not even think freely. He has indeed been misaligned into a hypnotic state. And suggesting means that one person can suggest something to or away from someone else. When a child is ill, its mother says that it must not do this or that, or no. When I get up and don't go downstairs, I can't do it. I may not go fast. I may not climb the stairs, and I may not do much, and may not do this, nor that, nor one more thing. Man suggests to himself his own suffering. Not only that, he does it to his fellow humans as well. And so, if we can show up to a crisis situation and not accept that it's a crisis, just accept that it's a happening. That in and of itself is a service. And so about a year and a half ago, I took a really nasty fall where I learned what Bruno meant by not suggesting. So I fell, um, I was on a ladder and my feet were about 7 feet away from the ground, and I had something in one of my hands. So I fell. I banged my head on the way down. Um, the thing that was in my hand hit the floor, so it jarred my shoulder. Then my other leg hit the floor. My other leg hit the floor before the other one, so my knee got twisted. Then I banged my forehead on the countertop, and then I just and as right after I banged my head on the countertop, this inspiration came to me: just relax. And so I did. After I hit my head, I just relaxed and let myself go right down to the floor. And I just laid there and I gave the entire thing over to Bruno. I said, Bruno, please take this. Let there be no permanent effects from this. I give you all the illness. I give you all the quote injury. I give you whatever caused the fall to happen. Please take it. And I just laid there for 15 minutes. And some thoughts would come like, oh my gosh, you really injured yourself. And I just gave it away. And so again, this on from a mm, you know physics point of view, this was not good. I banged the back of my head. I banged my forehead. I jarred my shoulder. I twisted my knee. And I just refused to take on any thought that I had been injured. In 15 minutes, it was more like 20 minutes. I just laid there and part of this was grace, part of this was discipline. The grace is grace. Who can explain it? And part of it was just, I said, no, I won't take this on. I was very firm. And that's what we need to be with evil. We need to be very firm. 15, 20 minutes later, I got up and I just, the back of my neck, which I didn't even hit the back of my neck, was a little sore. And that's all the injury I had. So this is my long-winded way of saying that in well, let me see if I can find one of my favorite Bruno quotes. And if not, I think I have it memorized. Here it is. This is from Powers of the Spirit, page 80. All you have to do, and you must do, in every situation of apparent danger is to maintain your connection with the world above through an absolute trust. The slightest doubt or the smallest trace of anxiety is enough to cut off your protection, and then you become a football for evil to play with. But evil can only send you thoughts that make you anxious if you accept them. So, no matter what the situation is, especially when it's a situation that looks scary or looks like a crisis, or as Bruno said here, in every situation of apparent danger, is to maintain your connection to the world above through absolute trust. So the grace was that right after I hit my head, the inspiration came to relax. I consider that from God or Bruno. And then after that, I got vigilant and I stayed in trust. So let's spend a little time and really reflect on how we don't, and I didn't suggest to myself that, oh, I'm injured, even though the thoughts were like, oh, you twisted your leg, you hit your head, you twisted your shoulder. But I just, and as Bruno said, all the but evil can only send you the thoughts. And then we say yes or no to evil thoughts. And if we say yes, then we get not fun stuff, because evil is not a fun game to play. So let's spend a little time reflecting on all this, taking in this good energy. Deepening our trust. If we have trouble trusting, we can always ask Bruno for help to trust more, or ask Bruno to believe for us until we're able to believe. continuing to take in the good. Really asking to be guided. I'm reading a spiritual book right now that says many times throughout the day, remind yourself that you're not running the show anymore, meaning that we're not in charge. God is, that we're seeking to follow God and ask, how can I serve you? Thy will be done. Thy will, not mine, be done. To develop this attitude. Where would you have me go? What would you have me do? What would you have me say? Because we are and we can be instruments of peace. Sure. Melody. Melanie asked, my legal name is Arthur and my spiritual name is Truth. And I answer to either. And yeah, and thank you so much for joining in, Melanie. And I have a website for anyone who's new, www.thehealingstream.org. And I'm currently doing these gatherings a couple of times a day here on YouTube. There'll be another one. Oh, you were asking someone else. um, so we'll have another one in a couple of hours. And most days I try and I'm currently doing about 3 to 4 at different times throughout the day. So, I'd like to thank everyone for joining in. We'll close in a minute with just a final silent time together. And so I shared today 2 stories in which I was, able to show up and really live these teachings. And, Bruno Groening said, practice. Practice is what we practice, I say. Practice is what we need to do. Bruno himself said that he was deepening his conviction of the truth. So moment by moment, we can practice trust and faith. So let's close with a little sigh, continuing to tune in silence for another minute. Welcoming the good. Thank you so much, divine creations, divine marvels, children of God. Thank you so much and have a beautiful day.